This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Hello, my name is Atty and welcome to our program. The topic for this program is going to be anti, okay, so federalism, anti. Why? Because in many of the shows I have been very pro-federalism. Now, I have to state my biases at the start as a disclaimer. Yes, I am for federalism, and for the only reason that change must occur because the current system has not served us well. Simply because, again, my problems are Imperial Manila, together with all the businesses and everything, all wanting to stay within the NCR. Now, there are many other issues, but it's not a good idea to just say and push myself on media just simply because I have the TV show to promote to you what I think should be. What is great is thanks to Mocha Unson for all the criticism she's received. I agree with the columnist Buboy Tiglao and the UN representative Teddy Boy Locsin, who says and who claimed that actually she did bring it down to the masses. And I am glad that we are now beginning to talk about federalism, which is what I have promoted 2 years ago. Because after all, this is the very first promise of the president. Now, the problem is, now that we have the consultative commission, and now that they're going around, and now that, well, we hope Congress will deliberate, and we know the Senate will not, what exactly is federalism and where are we going? Why should we, how should we understand it, and how should we vote for or against it in what we call the plebiscite? But then again, if smart mathing is going to be the mechanism, the platform for the people to vote, with this COMELEC, oh my gosh, both having no integrity, I'm not sure it's wise or prudent or whatever to even vote, because they're just going to mess it up anyway the way they want to do it. So let's hope that we get rid of this COMELEC, we get rid of Smartmatic before the 2019 elections, which again is a tall order. With us, we have Attorney Severo Brillantes, a brilliant lawyer, has his own practice, and he has a very straight, strong mind about many of the issues that occur in the country. Thank you very much for being on the show, Attorney Seb. Salamat narito ka. Now, I purposely asked you to sit in the show kasi I find that your issues are very relevant and straight to the point ka magsalita eh. Now, you are anti-federalism. Basically, why?
First of all, as a reaction to what you said, you disclosed that you are
Yes,
federalism,
I'm biased, yes,
because the present system has not served us well.
Correct.
I agree with you.
Oh, okay.
Despite the fact that I am anti-federalism, I agree with you that the present system has not served us well. But I am not referring to the unitary system of government. I am referring to the status quo or the present state of affairs.
Okay.
If you want me to explain.
Please.
We had the EDSA revolution. We were able to topple a dictatorship to the People Power Revolution. And to the 1987 Constitution, dismantled the structures of authoritarian rule. But sadly, what followed after the EDSA revolution was not a genuine revolution, but simply and sadly the restoration of the equally corrupt elitist politics of pre-martial days.
No argument there. I totally agree with you. Carry on.
And this rotten system is characterized by two factions of the elite taking turns in holding political power.
Dynasty.
Yeah, particularly political dynasties, the oligarchs, which now populate Congress.
Yes.
Simply taking turns in holding political power,
Maski sa
but no
Senado.
genuine intent to dismantle the unjust and exploitative social order, which keeps the majority of our people poor and powerless.
It's the same issue not only in Congress. Sa Senado, magkakapatid. And worse, populiste. Kung sinong popular, yun ang naboboto, pero hindi pinag-aaralan ng konstitusyon. But go further, please. Carry
And
on.
we have political parties.
We do?
But we have political parties which are not which do not really have defined party ideologies, but what hold them simply is personal interest. And this
Money.
explains why, despite the transfer of power from one political party to another, there is no significant change in the lives. There is no significant change in the lives of our people.
So we have failed. You have summarized that we have failed to date because of poor, bad practices, the wrong platform, obviously, of the unitary in the president. The presidential system, together with the dynasties, etc., etc. So from the birth of the republic up to today, we have failed the people. Going forward, why shouldn't we try federalism? What is it you don't like about it?
I have elaborated on this system of government. So why am I against federalism? First of all, we have to consider how is the Constitution proposed to be revised through a constituent assembly. In other words, that is Congress.
Again.
Congress populated by oligarchs, by political dynasties, and I do not see that they will propose amendments to the Constitution which will dismantle what I referred to as the unjust and exploitative social order which keeps the Filipino people poor and powerless.
Well, when we talk of the Constituent Assembly, until now, kuro-kuro pa rin because it has not happened. It is likely, but not, we can't confirm or firmly say we're going in that direction. Assuming it does, again, you're saying that the very people that will compose the Constituent Assembly is the very source of the problem itself. So in other words, we are supposed to discuss federalism. This is supposed to be the big issue the country should be talking about, correct? I mean, whether it's good or not for the country.
Okay.
Maganda to get most, if not all, people involved, but not everyone will. And for those who will, we hope that they will not just open their mouth, but try and understand it. But is it rife to say na okay na, ngayon na natin pag-usapan, when we really don't know what Congress will turn out? Am I right?
Yes.
Because the Consultative Commission is a proposal.
Yes.
To date. That is it. It is just a proposal. And it cannot go further, no matter how much the President does it, because legislation lies with the lower house first. Diba? So depending on what the lower house comes up with, then we should discuss that. But why is it important we discuss federalism today? To understand changes, assuming we require change. So you're not necessarily anti-federalism, but you are pro-change.
Yes, I am pro-change,
Yes.
and I believe that under the present circumstances, federalism will not bring about significant change. We have perhaps, we're aware that the proposed federal constitution drafted by the Constitutional Commission has an anti-dynasty provision.
Very strong.
Very
Yes.
strong.
Well,
And it
hanggang-
also has an anti-turncoatism
Turncoatism.
provision, which are very good.
Yes, very good.
But two prominent members of the Constitutional Commission, Father Ranhilio Aquino,
Aquino, yes, San Beda.
the Dean of the San Beda Graduate School, and Chief Justice Renato Puno has issued a warning. If the anti-dynasty provision is removed, they will themselves campaign against their own draft. And we have the anti-dynasty mandate in the 1987 Constitution. Congress is mandated to enact an anti-dynasty law. This 1987 Constitution has been with us for more than 30 years. And our Congress has not enacted an anti-dynasty law. And even President Duterte has expressed the view that he is against an anti-dynasty law. Expectedly, he has his own dynasty in Davao.
He's willing to let it go. Sinasabi niya, he's willing to abide by it.
Which I really doubt.
Oh, okay.
So, under these circumstances, we cannot expect this Congress, which is populated by oligarchs, which is populated by members of political dynasties, to maintain that anti-dynasty provision in the proposed Constitution. And I believe it is utterly naive for Father Aquino and Chief Justice Puno to hope that that anti-dynasty provision will remain. So considering that this is the very cause of what ails this country, the majority of our people remain poor and powerless because power is concentrated in the hands of a few. And these are the elites and the oligarchs and members of political dynasties who will be crafting proposed amendments to our Constitution.
Let's assume that these members of Congress will not, will change the proposed anti-dynasty.
Okay.
Let's assume, di ba?
Yes.
Because they will not rule against themselves and against their own
But let us
interests.
assume that they will maintain it.
Yeah, let's assume they will maintain it. All the people have to do is not vote for them. And when it comes to the plebiscite, assuming, then the people should not vote. Shouldn't we discuss issues relevant to the current situation, meaning change? Should we have change? You agreed earlier.
Yes, I agree.
You are pro-change. We
Yes,
must
yes.
change. Should we change towards federalism? Or should we change towards, because the arguments towards federalism, other than those two main factors,
Yes.
assuming that they are maintained, di okay na, smooth sailing tayo. Assuming.
I
mean, ando doon yung anti-dynasty.
Let us look at the arguments
That's right.
for
Federalism,
federalism. No? Even assuming the anti-dynasty provision and the anti-turncoatism provision are retained.
Yes.
The question is, what is the argument? What do proponents of federalism advance? They are saying that some of our regions are economically backward because they do not receive adequate funds
So
from the national government.
So wala silang absorptive capacity, assuming they're given the budgets and the opportunity.
And
If the argument is they're not getting enough the budget, maybe through
And the
federalism, maybe automatic na yung DBN, they have to share it now, which is better, which is correct.
And the very purpose of federalism is to transfer power and funds to the regions.
Correct.
And those who
Equitably.
And those who propose federalism are saying that with more funds, more resources, the regions will have enough resources to fuel their own development.
Is that correct? That's correct.
Ideally, that is correct. But let us consider that. Let us first consider the present system. we speak of the internal revenue allotment. Under
IRA.
the present system, whatever funds are obtained by the LGUs, local government units, they have to surrender to the national treasury, and it is the national government which will allocate to them funds to the internal revenue allotment. Now, assuming there are more funds to the local government units, this does not in itself guarantee that there will be development. Why? Because the direct beneficiaries of these funds,
the LGUs,
are not the people, but the political dynasties who lord it over the regions. There is no guarantee that because of more resources, these regions that are left behind will economically develop. We have to consider the problem of graft and corruption, which is a perennial problem of our country. Even if we provide more funds to these regions, there is no guarantee that the people will benefit from
so
these
you're
funds.
saying the local government code is ample, except the recipient of the funds is where the corruption and the breakdown lies. Kasi mahina, corrupt, dynasty. Di ganun din. So if we go federal, we break it down, we formalize a new platform, but in reality, it's one and the same, is what you're saying, it does not guarantee. So federalism is not an opportune or the right solution, is what you're saying. Because it's one and the same thing.
Under the present circumstances.
Yeah,
but there is a recent development which in fact makes which in fact makes that argument no longer tenable.
Okay.
And this is the decision of the Supreme Court saying that what should be shared with the local government units are not only national internal revenue taxes, but all national taxes. In effect, that answers the problem of funds being made available to the local government units.
So mas lalaki yung pera nila.
Yes.
Eh kung corrupt sila and they're incompetent, the more funds, the more corrupt, the more the incompetence will just wipe the money away.
Yes, but the point is that erases the argument now because of all the while, our local government units are being cheated of their just share.
By the politicians that represent them.
Unfortunately, by the
National government.
local government
The local
code,
government.
which is contrary to what is provided for in the Constitution. And the Supreme Court has recently rendered a decision
Amending it.
pointing out that what our local government units are entitled to are not only national internal revenue taxes, but all national taxes like customs duties.
Lahat. Basically, national tax.
Yes. And we have
Hindi naman amendment yan, di ba? Ruling lang yan.
It is a ruling of the, it's not an amendment, it's a ruling.
But it's not judicial
saying,
legislation.
No,
Hindi judicial legislation.
In effect, it is a decision of the Supreme Court saying that the provision in the local government code is unconstitutional.
But it is not per se judicial legislation to change the source of funds or the total amount of funds that should go to the LGUs.
Now, the LGUs, because of that decision of the Supreme Court, can demand and are now entitled for a greater percentage of funds that they are receiving from the national government.
But in effect, today, hindi pa rin nangyayari yun.
Yes, of course.
Just because the Supreme Court said it, it doesn't mean the people, the executive is following it. Is it being followed in your mind?
It has to be followed by the executive,
but
I have heard
in
that the executive department plans to contest that decision of the because that would entail a very, very big amount. Now, we have to consider also, assuming true federalism, let's forget what the Supreme Court said. Let us assume that true federalism, more funds will be made available to the regions.
Okay.
We have to consider also the cost of administration. We, to a federal system of government, we add a new structure, which is the state government, which will definitely, each region will have its executive, legislative, and judicial department.
That's good,
That
is
will
it not?
entail, that will, in my mind, whatever benefit, whatever more funds will be given through federalism will be eaten up by the cost of administration. So where will the regional governments get their funds? They will have to impose more taxes, which will be an added burden to the people.
Okay, we're
So-
gonna have
so-
we're
so-
gonna have to take a short break.
So in effect, that federalism will result to a bloated
bureaucracy.
And Pernia and Dominguez, our economic managers, have already spoken against federalism. In fact, Pernia said that it will wreak havoc on the Philippine economy. Villegas, an economist, said that it will result into hyperinflation,
Attorney,
which we cannot,
But
which
these are-
the Philippine government, according to them, cannot afford.
but these are the very same people who said Train 1 will only go up to a 4% inflation. Villegas, who's been around, an economist over the last 2 to 3 decades, has not said a lot, criticized a lot, but to date is still part of the bureaucracy to a certain extent and has not succeeded in changing the system.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to have to take a short break, Attorney Seb. I guess we don't have a solution yet, but we have to find one. We are both pro-change. I'm sure so are you. If federalism is not going to be the answer, what can it be? What should it be? The problem is we cannot sit back and go again towards another election and have more of the same crap that we've been receiving. What then should we do? We should talk change. We should not stop talking and looking for a solution. But what exactly should that be? Stay with us. We'll be right back.